In 1909, a cabinet maker named Heinrich Swartzentruber of Millersburg, Ohio, recorded a furniture finishing method in a leather-bound ledger that his grandson eventually donated to the Wayne County Historical Society. The ledger sat in an acid-free box in a back room for 63 years. When a furniture conservator finally examined it in 1972, she described the formula as, quote, more durable than anything currently available from commercial suppliers. The note was filed. Nothing was published. The formula stayed in the box. That ledger described a wood finish that Amish craftsmen in Holmes County had been using since at least the 1820s. A finish made from ingredients that cost less than $4. A finish that, on pieces still in use today, has not cracked, peeled, or required recoating in over a century. What you're about to learn was never suppressed by force. It simply became inconvenient to talk about. Walk into any big-box hardware store today. The finishing aisle is 40 feet long. You'll find water-based polyurethane, oil-based polyurethane, gel stain, wipe-on poly, Danish oil, tung oil blends. And the word blend is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Most of what's in those cans is not what the label implies. It is petroleum solvent, plastic resin, and a marketing budget. The global wood coatings market is worth $12.4 billion a year. That number depends entirely on a product that yellows, cracks, and peels on a schedule convenient enough to require reapplication every 3 to 7 years. If you had a finish that lasted 150 years, you would buy it once. That is not a business model. Nobody made a decision to hide the old method. There was simply no money in teaching it, and so it stopped being taught. The Amish kept doing what their great-grandparents did because their great-grandparents' furniture still worked. The average American woodworker spends between $180 and $340 a year on finishes. Polyurethane, stain, sanding sealer, top coats, strippers for when things go wrong. A single quart of name-brand oil-based polyurethane runs $22 at the hardware store. It covers roughly 125 square feet per coat. A dining table needs 3 coats minimum. Do the math. Eli Troyer of Sugarcreek, Ohio builds custom furniture full-time. He finishes every piece, chairs, cabinets, tables, bed frames, with a mixture he makes himself for approximately $4 per batch. That batch covers the equivalent of 6 dining tables. The pieces he finished 11 years ago still look the way they did the week he delivered them. His customers have never called him back about a failing finish. Not once. The formula is not secret. It is simply not sold. Why you never heard about this? The short answer is that it couldn't be patented. A finish made from linseed oil, beeswax, and turpentine, in proportions any craftsman could figure out with an afternoon of experimentation, has no proprietary angle. No company can own it. No distributor has a margin on it. When synthetic finishes arrived in the mid-20th century, they came with advertising budgets, trade show booths, and endorsements from woodworking publications that depended on those same advertisers. The old formula didn't have a publicist. It had grandmothers and grandfathers who knew it worked and didn't feel the need to argue about it. By 1965, most American woodworking schools had stopped teaching traditional oil finishing entirely. The curriculum shifted toward spray lacquers and polyurethane because that's what the industry needed graduates to buy. A generation of craftsmen learned to finish wood with products that require respirators, produce hazardous waste, and degrade in under a decade. The Amish noticed none of this. They were too busy building furniture. The base: raw linseed oil and the heat method. Here is the first thing most people get wrong. They buy boiled linseed oil off the shelf and assume it's what traditional craftsmen used. It is not. Boiled linseed oil sold commercially today is raw linseed oil with petroleum-based metallic dryers added to speed the curing time. It works, after a fashion, but it doesn't cure the same way. It stays slightly tacky longer, it darkens more aggressively, and over decades it becomes brittle in ways that raw oil does not. Ruth Bontrager of Walnut Creek, Ohio, whose family has been finishing furniture since her great-great-grandfather's workshop in the 1870s, uses raw linseed oil that she gently heats in a double boiler to roughly 150 degrees Fahrenheit before application. The science is simple. Heat thins the oil at a molecular level, allowing it to penetrate deeper into the wood grain before it begins to cure. It bonds with the wood fiber rather than sitting on top of it. A documented reference. In 1887, the Pennsylvania Bureau of Industrial Statistics published a survey of craft trades in Lancaster County that specifically noted Amish furniture finishers heating their oils before application, calling the practice unusual among contemporary woodworkers, but producing results of remarkable durability. The beginner mistake here is overheating. Raw linseed oil is flammable. Use a double boiler, never direct heat. If the oil begins to smoke, it is too hot. Warm, not hot. You are not cooking it, you are waking it up. The formula, the 3-ingredient finish. The finish that Heinrich Swartzentruber recorded in that 1909 ledger, and that variations of are still in use across Holmes County today, is built on 3 ingredients: raw linseed oil, pure gum spirits of turpentine, and beeswax. Not synthetic wax. Not paste wax with silicone additives. Beeswax, which in Amish communities has always been a byproduct of keeping bees for honey and candle making, and costs nothing to people who have hives. For those without hives, a pound of raw beeswax costs approximately $9 online and will supply a woodworker for the better part of a year. The ratio Amish Yoder of Berlin, Ohio uses, and will tell you freely if you ask, is 4 parts warmed linseed oil to 1 part turpentine to a ½ part melted beeswax, combined and stirred until the wax is fully dissolved. The turpentine acts as a carrier, driving the oil-wax mixture into the pores of the wood. The wax seals and protects. The oil feeds the fiber. Total cost per batch, roughly $4. Shelf life, indefinitely if kept sealed. The historical record supports this formula explicitly. A 1923 extension bulletin published by Ohio State University, aimed at farm households, not commercial shops, described a nearly identical mixture as the traditional finish of choice among German heritage craftsmen in rural Ohio, noting that pieces finished this way resist water penetration, do not crack with seasonal wood movement, and age to a deeper luster over time rather than degrading. Jacob Miller, a third-generation furniture maker in Charm, Ohio, puts it this way: "My grandfather's workbench has the original finish on it. I've set hot coffee cups on it. I've spilled water on it. It looks better now than when he finished it in 1951. That doesn't happen with what they sell in the store." The beginner mistake with this formula is applying it too thickly. This is not polyurethane. You are not building a film on top of the wood. Apply thin. Wipe off the excess after 15 minutes. Let it cure for 24 to 48 hours. Apply again. 3 to 4 coats, properly applied, will outlast your house. The maintenance, the annual feed. Here is the piece of the system that the commercial finishing industry genuinely cannot replicate because it requires no product purchase. Traditional oil wax finishes are self-maintaining. Once a piece of furniture has received its initial finish coats, the Amish practice is an annual, sometimes biennial, application of a simple maintenance coat. Pure beeswax melted into a small amount of turpentine, applied by hand with a cloth, buffed out after 15 minutes. The wood absorbs what it needs. The surface is revived. No stripping, no sanding, no starting over. Compare this to polyurethane. When a polyurethane finish fails, and it will, typically within 7 to 12 years in a home environment with normal temperature and humidity swings, you cannot simply add more polyurethane. You must sand back to bare wood and start from scratch. The coating is a film sitting on top of the wood, not integrated with it. When it cracks, it is done. Mary Schlabach of Millersburg, Ohio, has a rocking chair that her grandmother finished in 1938. She applies a maintenance coat of beeswax every 2 years. The chair has never been refinished. It has never needed it. You don't restore it, she says, you just feed it, same as everything else that's alive. The science behind this is straightforward. Wood is not inert. It continues to breathe, expand, and contract with humidity changes for the life of the piece. A penetrating oil wax finish moves with the wood. A surface film cannot. The penetrating finish does not crack because it is part of the wood's movement, not a barrier against it. This is why Amish furniture lasts 200 years. Not craftsmanship alone, though the craftsmanship is exceptional, but a finish chemistry that respects the nature of the material it protects. The dark Woodsley walnut hull tea. For darker woods, walnut, cherry, mahogany, traditional Amish finishers in Wayne County used a preparatory wash that has no equivalent in any commercial product. A strong tea brewed from black walnut hulls, applied to the bare wood before the oil wax finish. The walnut hull tea does two things. First, it drives tannins deep into the surface fibers, which reacts with the linseed oil in the finish to create a chemical bond that is measurably more durable than oil alone on tannic woods. Second, it produces a depth of color, a warmth that pulls from within the grain rather than sitting on the surface, that commercial stains have never convincingly replicated. Isaac Hirschberger of Apple Creek, Ohio, describes the process plainly. You crack green walnut hulls in early fall, simmer them in water for 2 hours, let the tea cool, wash the wood with it, and let it dry completely. Then you finish as normal. The color that comes out of walnut after that? There is no stain that does the same thing. People who buy my pieces ask me what stain I used. I tell them I used no stain. They don't believe me. Green walnut hulls are available free in most of rural America every September and October. In 200 BC, Roman craftsmen used a similar process with oak galls and iron-rich water to darken and harden wooden writing tablets. The chemistry was understood long before synthetic chemistry made understanding it seem unnecessary. The beginner warning. Walnut hull tea will stain everything it touches, including your hands, permanently. Wear gloves. Use a dedicated cloth. Do not do this in your kitchen. The furniture in Amish homes doesn't last 200 years by accident. It lasts because the people who built it understood that wood is a living material, and that a finish should work with that nature, not seal it away from the world. The formula costs $4. The ingredients are available to anyone. The method has been documented since at least 1887. None of this is hidden. It was simply more profitable to sell you something else. I'd like to know, does your family have any version of this? An old finish recipe, a handed-down method, something a grandparent or great-grandparent insisted on that modern advice told you to ignore? Tell me in the comments. Some of the most useful knowledge on this channel has come from people who thought what they knew was ordinary. It never is.